Hey folks, so far we've talked about all of the important elements for establishing a strong foundation to create health. We've looked at habits for good sleep, proper nutrition, some strategies for staying active. We've also looked at some of the soft skills necessary for a strong foundation. We've looked at things like habit tracking and focusing on what's in your power to control. So hopefully all that is already familiar, or you're working to incorporate more of that into your life. Today, we're going to begin looking at what comes next, the layers that build on top of that foundation, which is resistance training. Resistance training is one of the closest things we have to a miracle cure-all. Resistance training has been shown to be especially effective in resolving musculoskeletal dysfunction, like back pain. So it is something that we want to incorporate into our yoga practice. I know for a lot of people, resistance training is confusing, overwhelming, associated with things like, oh, I don't like going to the gym, I don't like lifting weights, and comes with a panoply, constellation of questions like, well, what exercises should I do? What should I avoid? What can I do at home? Do I need to go to the gym? Is yoga enough resistance training? All good questions, and we're going to begin answering them first by defining what resistance training is, and then I'm going to give you a basic outline for how to make sense of all of the different kinds of resistance training exercises that you can do. Cool? All right. So, what is resistance training? Basically, anytime you are applying effort against something that resists you, you are doing resistance training. The classic example is like lifting weights. The weights are heavy, they resist your efforts to pick them up and put them back down. But as far as your body is concerned, resistance is resistance. 10 pounds of resistance is 10 pounds. It doesn't matter if it's from a heavy object like a weight, or the weight of your body against gravity, or from an elastic band, or pushing or pulling against another person. Resistance is resistance. So, certain kinds of yoga, yes, can be resistance training. Within the realm of resistance training, there are millions of possible exercises and variations, and it can all be very confusing. So, to simplify resistance training and make it easier to understand, make sure that your training is well-rounded, we can organize all of those exercises into 7 fundamental movement patterns: pushing, pulling, squatting, lunging, hinging, twisting, and gait. That's walking or running. Most yoga poses and exercises are going to be some variation or combination of those 7 basic movements. So, when you begin to think about what comes next after you've established a strong foundation, my recommendation is to look at these movement patterns and find out what you can do, what you can't do, and what causes pain. And that will give you a baseline for figuring out what you need to focus on next. Advantage of having a coach is having somebody who will be able to make sure that you're doing all of these movements in the most efficient way possible, and to help you modify them so you get the most benefit from the movement. So, how often have you thought about going to the gym or starting a program or starting something and been overwhelmed by the unfamiliarity of the exercises, worried that you're going to get injured, wondered if that sensation you're feeling in your knee is a sign that you should stop or it's fine? All of these things are worth looking at, and it's best to look at them individually with a coach. Now, I'm including in today's download a PDF where you can see all these fundamental movements and some examples of how you might turn yoga poses or some exercises that include these movements. You're welcome to explore them on your own, but if you'd like to go through them one-on-one, we can definitely do that too. We'll find variations, modifications that worked for you and set you up with a practice that emphasizes the movements that will be most beneficial for you. All right, so that's all for today. If you haven't watched the live workshop yet, go ahead, watch the replay, and I'll see you next time.